and welcome to another Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday. Today we take a look at One Deck Dungeon, Forest of Shadows. This falls squarely within the fantasy camp and is actually a standalone expansion of sorts to One Deck Dungeon. And what this is basically kind of a dungeon crawl of sorts, but it's basically a dice allocation type game. It's got a little bit of a Yahtzee feel to it, and then allocating your dice, and you have unique abilities with your characters, and then there's certain rolls that you have to make to tackle the different dungeon denizens that you face, and then there's usually a boss that you have to take on at the end. So it feels a lot like a dungeon crawl or boss fighter type game. Let's take a look at the back of the box here. You can see here it's 1 to 2 players, so you can play this with multiple players, but this is primarily a solitaire game, and that's, I think, how a lot of people play this. Time is 30 minutes. That's about right. It could go a little bit longer, but yeah, if you lose, it is shorter than 30 minutes. Forest of Shadows adds all new heroes, dungeons, foes, perils, and makes your adventures more dangerous with a new type of damage, poison. You'll have to weigh spending time tending to your wounds against the ever-pressing need to battle and find loot. The boss at the end of the dungeon certainly won't go easy on you if you delay. One Deck Dungeon, Forest of Shadows, is a cooperative dungeon delve for 1 or 2 players. It is a standalone expansion, so it can be played entirely on its own, but it can also be mixed with the original One Deck Dungeon. With any 2 sets combined, you can play as a party of 4 heroes. As it says here, that this is going to add a new type of damage, poison, and so that's going to be a kind of like a lingering effect that you're going to have to deal with. And well, let's enough of that. Let's get inside the box and see what we have here. As I said, this is predominantly played solo. I think a lot of people play this solo. I have not played it cooperatively, but I know there are rules where you can do that. You might notice here I've got a little bit of a dent on my edge of my box. This is and I think I did a short on that on opening this up a long time ago. This came through I think I got this through Amazon, and they just throw it in a bag, and that bag gets thrown all over the place, and that's what you get when you get that. Let's open up the box here. It shouldn't affect any of the contents, I would hope. Let's do this. You have your rules here. Nice little handy little rule book here. It's your adventure guide. And this is going to tell you everything you need to know of how to play the game. It's like 29 pages. And this is talking about some of those new rules. This is poison and how you use that. And there's some, sorry about the glare. It's very, very glossy paper, as you can see. Tells you about how to mix the sets. And then you got your cure potion, which, you know, is going to come in handy for that poison, I would imagine. Here's 4-player rules. There's a campaign mode here. There's your boss fight. And as you can see here on these, the bosses or the creatures that you fight, sorry about that, you have to allocate dice. You know, you have to allocate so many, points for this, total number of pips of dice of that type there, and there's certain ones that you have to do first, or they're kind of required to cover up, and if you don't, then you're going to take damage, and then this shows you how much damage you're going to be taking throughout there. And then the bosses and monsters have special abilities as well. Leveling up and descending, that you can level up stuff. It is, again, kind of a RPG-ish fantasy dungeon crawl where you're going to be leveling up, getting items, and fighting baddies. Feat, skills, and potions. Claiming loot, Got to get some loot. And there's the unique system here is that you there's kind of multi-use of some of the cards. You can use the cards to like add new feats or abilities, which will give you um, more capabilities to fight other creatures that require those symbols, or you can add it as, you know, there's potions, or you can add it as loot. I mean, there's sometimes there's different things that you can use the cards for, and you have to make decisions on how you use the card in the game. And so that's kind of a neat aspect here too. So you are making decisions. Not only are you making decisions on how to allocate your dice, or how to mitigate some of your dice rolls, or to increase your dice rolls, and where do you put your dice, but you're also, you know, you mitigating your character. You're adding features to your character, and making decisions when you acquire those cards on where you put the stuff. Excuse me. Got all of a sudden got dry throat today, but must have been my coffee with Kilroy. But so you're making a lot of decisions on your character and how to use some of the cards, and you're also rolling dice and making decisions on that. Now this is a dice rolling game, so if you don't like dice rolling, you don't like the luck that comes with that, or the randomness that comes with that, then this is not going to be your game. This is basically overused phrase of Yahtzee on steroids. You know, you're rolling dice and trying to allocate pips and stuff to try to figure out where you can do your most damage. Use skills and place dice. Suffer consequences. Like if some of these things are required, and if you don't do them first, then you're going to have some consequences. You might take damage, or some other things might happen to you. And it is a little bit of a time game, and you're going through this deck of opening up doors and fighting what's behind it. And you know, the longer you take in this to get to the boss, the tougher the game's going to be for you. Just showing you how to handle encounters there. See, so when you beat this, then this becomes a loot item here. So you've got you can use the item skill to add to your capabilities. You put that up on the side of your character, or you can put it down here and get a skill. So as I said, there's multi-use of the cards, and on the card itself is what you have to do to defeat that card. There's your loot experience, and your experience helps you level up stuff. Special ability, challenge boxes. This is the information that's unique to that monster that you have to do to beat it, but then this is what you get once you defeat that monster. And they have different, you know, stuff there as well. They also have perils, like traps, and I imagine you probably have poison traps in this one, right? So this is how you enter the room, and they see the door to the room, and then behind it's going to be either a peril or a monster or something like that. And you know, this is, and I go through rule books backwards, but you know, I think it's an interesting way to look at things. So this is a game term. Time passes, you explore, you enter a room. How you explore is you flip over one of these doors and see what's behind it. And then you're going to go down levels as well. The cards are situated where there's going to be different levels, and you have to go through so many levels before you get to the boss and win the game. And this tells you how to place dice. Like that 4 meets that 2 requirement there. Here you have to meet a requirement of 8, and so that 9 pips would do that. You can turn pips in to create like a black heroic die. I mean, it's all about dice manipulation. You're rolling dice and trying to maximize your pips in certain colors to meet certain requirements, and that's really the game. But it's done with a fantasy theme and unique character abilities. And so you set up your play area, and there you go. That is the rules. Let's look at some of the new characters in here. So we've got a hunter. So this is their items. So that again helps you. That's how many dice you get to roll. So you'll get to roll 3 yellow or 3 pink or 1 blue, and that's how much life it has. It's got a heroic feat. And then it's got a skill down here. This is the 1-player version, and then you have the 2-player version right here. So nerfs it a little bit so that, you know, it's not overpowered if you were to play with a team member. You have your Druid here. Druid. Warden. Pretty good combat there. Slayer. Pretty good movement. Alchemist. Then you got to turn. Oh, what we got here? Got a special one here. Huh. That's interesting. Kind of cool. And you can see that all the characters are female. That's kind of an interesting thing about this game, that both in one deck dungeon and one deck Forest of the Shadows they have female, which is that's kind of cool. Turn reference. This tells you what you need to do, how you spend time, because again, time is a key component here. Explore or enter a room, encounter, how you use potions, different types of potions there. And then, you know, then that's to go through the most of the game. And then when you get to the boss fight, it's a little bit different setup for the boss fight there. So there you got that reference there. We have here, this is like for the campaign, I believe. You can kind of keep track of your hero. This is like a character sheet, right? Keep track of your hero, name, and how you did on certain stuff. And you might get special abilities on this. So this is, I think this is more for a campaign type role or game. And you get track your games played and bosses defeated, and you've got a whole pad of that there. We get some counters. Oh, those are plastic. That's kind of cool. Nice little round tokens there. You get some white cubes there. Those are plastic. We'll get a whole bunch of dice, and it's in different colors because, again, you know, the different colors mean or different kind of items or attributes, and that's what you're rolling to try to match the certain requirements on the different creatures from monsters. You get life. Look at that. Got some nice little hearts. Just in time for Valentine's Day coming up. Then we got the rest is going to be the deck of cards. Take a look here. That's harder than it looks. Opening that up. Take a look at some of the cards here. Little warping going on there. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit. Cards are okay. They're not super thick. I mean, you don't want them too thick, but they're fine quality. Just kind of standard cards there. So you're going to have. Let's get the bosses out first. I think this is a boss here, isn't it? Not sure. Yeah, Phoenix Den. That's the boss right there. Hybrid Dungeon. Oh, this is where you're mixing the two sets. Poison Reference. Hordes of the Shadow. That's a 4-player game, it looks like there. Interesting. And then we've got some more stuff here. Put that down. So this is kind of your starting setup, I think, on some of this stuff. Your basic potions. Here's some items, and this is like that's level 4, so you're going to level up over time here. That's starting at level 1, 1 item, 1 skill, and then when you level up, well, that's 2-player, and you got the 1-player. There we go. So as you level up in the game, you know, you start out with 1 item, 2 skills, and then when you level up, you're going to get 5 items and 4 skills. So it gives you more slots to do. Well, sorry, you get 3 items and 3 skills. It gives you more slots to do stuff. Plus, you get another potion. You get an encounter bonus here, and this is what it takes. This is the experience points it takes to level up to the next level. So it takes 6 to get to 2, and 8 to get to 3, and so forth. Here's some stairs. That's interesting. just sitting out there. Okay, then you've got your different creatures here. These, I think, might be bosses. So let's take a look here and see. Yeah, these are your different bosses here. Put that down there for a second. So you've got what you need to do in the dungeon, like floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. These are things. This will be off to the side. So not in addition to the monsters you have to encounter, you've got to do this too. Deal with these requirements. So placing dice here at these different floors, and then once you get to the final, past the 3rd floor, you're into boss territory. So these are the new bosses that you're dealing with here. A lot more poison. Of course, they're introducing poison to this system now, so you're going to get, you know, the poison elemental. I imagine the corrupted tree does some poison as well. Maybe not. Oh yeah, I think that's what the skull is. Fire giant, and yeah, not sure about that. But anyway, so there's that. I thought there was another baddie here too. Here's the Phoenix. So you got quite a few new bosses here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 new bosses there. And the rest of this deck is going to, as you can see from the back of it, you have the door that you're opening up. So all these will have the same back, that you're entering into different chambers of a dungeon. And these are all the different creatures you might encounter in that dungeon. So that's where you have to allocate the dice and what you have to do, and then and then if you get this, you'll get either the attributes, which lets you roll more of those dice, or some skills. So you got a little thing where you can sneak past some of these people or charm it. It's kind of interesting. So quite a bit of variety in here, right? I mean, everything's on these cards. And the game plays very well. I mean, it's somewhat repetitive. I mean, you're rolling dice, allocating it, and then moving on. When I've played it, when I've got to like the boss, it almost felt almost puzzly, because you're trying to, have I got enough stuff on me, either by rolling the right dice or the right skills or right levels, that I can actually, you know, even come close to meeting this allocation. Because you see this allocation is pretty high. You got 17 and 17, and I mean that's pretty it's pretty intense to try to get that many pips, you know, on 2 or 3 dice. So you better have plenty of dice of that color. So it becomes a little bit, I played one time and I was starting to get towards the end, and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do it. I mean, there's no way I can't even beat this boss. I just don't have enough. I haven't acquired enough or built up my character enough that I could actually make a dent in it. So it was kind of anticlimactic in that regard, because I'd lost before I even got there, right? And the game does take some time. I mean, that 30 minutes, it can go it can go a little bit longer than that, right? So that gets kind of frustrating when you get really far, like you get to the 3rd level and you're like, I'm done. I can't do anything, and you've already invested quite a bit of time. But anyway, so you got some new characters in here. That's awesome. She got a bunch of new creatures, a bunch of new bosses, and some new characters to tackle them with. So anyway, it's a fine game. I've had a few experiences that were kind of like letdowns, but for the most part, I mean, this isn't a deep, meaty game. This is really more of a solo game that, you know, if you've got 30 minutes or so to kill, that you might want to, you know, throw it down and chuck some dice. There's a lot of dice rolling in this game, though. But there's also a lot of decisions and thought process in the game as well. Anyway, that's what I have for you today on Sci-Fi Fantasy Saturday. Thanks for stopping by. I'd love to know your thoughts on this or any of this stuff. Whatever you got going on today, love to hear it, and have a good one. Thanks for watching.